What's going on, Packers fans? Welcome into an all-new episode of the Pack-A-Day Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You can find the podcast at Pack-A-Day Podcast. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're about to go over our grades for this week, which are always fun to go through, always some of my favorite episodes to do. Before we get there, just want to remind you, if you haven't checked out today's other episode with Justice Mosqueda, make sure to do that. Also, Mark Eckel and Jason Perone over on the audio side of the show as well. So check out that as well. Happy hour tomorrow. So that will be a ton of fun. 3 p.m. Central Time over on the YouTube channel. And then I will be live for pre and post game shows following the game as well. So make sure you're checking out all of that stuff. The best way to do so is make sure that you are getting automatic downloads on the audio side, and make sure to check those alerts on the YouTube channel so that you're getting alerted every time a new episode is coming out. While you're there, make sure to like, subscribe, give those 5-star reviews as well. We always appreciate that a ton. Want to shout out our brand new Pack-A-Day Podcast YouTube members, Brandon Honeycutt and Kanar. Thank you guys so much for signing up. Appreciate that a ton as well. As mentioned, we're going to get to our grades in just a moment, but first we're going to look at what's on the horizon presented by Shriber Horizon. We've got the trade deadline coming up, and we talked a little bit about this with Justice Mosqueda. I'm going to be doing a full episode on Saturday on all the different targets, who makes sense, what players the Packers could potentially trade away, if any of them actually make any sense to do so, and then again, what kind of positions to target. But taking a quick look at it, there's some certain ones that could potentially make sense. We know corner is 1A on the Packers list if they were going to attack something. I still think a rotational defensive tackle wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you could upgrade from Nasir Stackhouse as like a bigger, what I would say is like run stopping rotational defensive tackle with maybe just a little bit of pass rush juice. Think of somebody like Jerron Reed, who the Packers had a couple of years ago, who had just a little bit of pass rush juice, but was a good run defender. Somebody like that can be your 5th defensive tackle. I could see like a move like that making sense for Green Bay. A tight end swap, maybe Luke Musgrave for a better blocking tight end, maybe a little bit of an upgrade there, maybe a change of scenery trade. Maybe some depth on the offensive line as well, although I think that's a little bit more unlikely at this point in time. But those are the positions that Green Bay's likely looking to target if they were to do something at the trade deadline. My guess is still about 80% no trade, 20% trade, but we'll take a look at all the options coming up this week on Saturday's episode, and we'll go over in greater detail exactly which players the Packers could and should target at this trade deadline coming up here next Tuesday. And that's what's on the horizon presented by Shriber Horizon. Now, many of you may know that Shriber is a leading global food and beverage manufacturer, but you may not know about Shriber Horizon, which is a suite of solutions that Shriber has built over the past 80 years and relies on every single day to support and grow their vast global network. Some of these solutions include end-to-end logistics, growth and innovation tools, warehouse management systems, and so much more. The best part is that these solutions are all backed by Shriber's 80-plus years of trust and operational excellence. If you're interested in Shriber's entire suite of solutions, just snap a picture of the QR code on the screen and you'll be one step closer to optimizing your business. You can also check them out over at shriberhorizon.com. Shriber Horizon, built on Shriber's legacy, designed for what's next. All right, let's get to updates from the day. No real updates from Matt LaFleur or from the injury report from practice, although Matt Schneidman did say there was a portion of practice that Quay Walker was sitting out of, or at least staying to the side, despite having his pads on. So we'll see if he pops up on the injury report when that comes out a little bit later on Thursday. I'm recording this around 2 p.m. on Thursday, so that injury report comes out just a little bit later. So just keep an eye out on that. As far as our film review and grades go for this week, I'll start with just a couple of kind of basic observations from the film review, and then we'll go into the grades. The first 2 observations that I would have this week offensively is, I know there's a lot of consternation about some of the play calling with Matt LaFleur and things like that. I thought Matt did a tremendous job of keeping especially his passing offense in situations where they could get rid of the ball and really helping out his offensive line. The offensive pass protection has been better than the run blocking. That goes without saying. But this was a tough matchup with Herbig and Highsmith and Watt, Cam Hayward, etc. This was a tough battle for this Packers offensive line. They really struggled in run blocking. They were better in pass protection, but Matt LaFleur deserves a lot of credit for keeping his pass protection in some manageable situations where they didn't have to, sort of protect for much longer than what they did. I think if there were a lot more plays that were trying to target down the field a little bit more, I think you would have seen a lot more sacks and pressures on Jordan Love. But instead, Jordan was able to get the ball out of his hands quickly, which allowed, a lot of those consecutive completions that we saw from Jordan, and it really set up the offense for success. And I think it frustrated the Steelers defense as well, that they couldn't get home and cause the chaos and create the havoc and create some of those turnovers that they're usually so great at creating. So a lot of credit to Matt LaFleur, especially for the passing offense in this particular game. And just as an overarching thing, this offensive line to me still has a long ways to go if this team wants to make a significant run in January and February. Thankfully, there's a lot of time left, and this offensive line usually does gel. There's certainly some players that are still recovering from injury as well, but overall, I need to see a better overall performance from the offensive line and not just scheming up plays where the offensive line doesn't have to protect for as long as they need to, because when Jordan Love can get a true pocket and be an assassin in the pocket, it's exactly what he's been so far. And Josh Jacobs doesn't need much room either. This line just has to be a little bit better. And then on the defensive side, for really the first time all year, I thought, and even kind of going back to last year, I thought edge setting was a bit of an issue in this one. It reared its ugly head, I would say 3 or 4 times in this game. I thought Micah could have done better on a couple opportunities. Isaiah McDuffie got outflanked on a couple opportunities. There was one time where Keyshawn Nixon could have had the edge, but he was looking at the wide receiver. It's a tough situation, but if he covers the edge, there's one play by Jalen Warren that doesn't go for anywhere near as much yards. So I just thought the edge was a lot more susceptible in this game than we've seen in recent weeks, or again, even going back to last year with Jeff Hafley. So clearly something that Green Bay is going to want to get cleaned up against Carolina this week as Carolina tries to go ball control and run with their 2 talented running backs. All right, let's get to our full grades. The full grades will be up over on PackerReport.com, but we'll get to all of the kind of noteworthy ones for today's show. Top 3 grades on offense. We're going to start with Jordan Love, plus 2.45 grade. I know PFF had him in the 80s this week. And I think when you see 20 consecutive completions and, 360 yards, couple touchdowns, no picks, etc., you're expecting a 90 something grade for Jordan Love, right? And as I went through and graded this one, I could kind of see what maybe they were seeing. First of all, when you have one of these games where a lot of your yardage is yards after catch, just inherently, there's going to be better grades for maybe the receivers, the tight ends, in this case, Tucker Kraft, who we'll talk about more in just a moment, and maybe a little bit less on the quarterback. Additionally, I did think there was about 3 plays in this game, I think all of them towards Matthew Golden, where he had an avenue to throw to Golden and then didn't, and then it ended up being a worse play after the fact. There's one play where he threw the little lofted pass to Emmanuel Wilson. I think one of the first plays to Romeo Doubs over the middle, where Doubs kind of had the drop. It was a tough play. That play, I thought there was an opportunity for Golden. I think there was another one too, where it was kind of like a slant. Oh, there was a slant play designed for Golden. Maybe that was the first one, but then there was another one early in the game where he comes open wide open over the middle and has the opportunity to hit him and decides to go down the field on a deep pass to Romeo Doubs instead. And it just felt like there were a few opportunities in this game where Jordan was still extremely successful, but there was maybe just a little bit more out there for him. The big thing is, maybe in the eye of the beholder for Jordan in this game are the 2 throws to Tucker Kraft, the little lollipop throw that Kraft goes up and gets and then takes for 50 yards, and the deep throw to Christian Watson. If you view those as turnover-worthy plays or bad throws or, ill-advised decisions, you're probably going to be a little bit lower on the grade. I liked both plays, and I'll explain to you why. The first play to Kraft, the one where it gets lollipopped up. First thing to note, it's a 3rd down. That doesn't just mean you can be free with the ball and, potentially throw an interception, but it should be noted that if you're not completing that pass, you're punting the ball away. You're basically turning the ball over. It just is depending on where they're getting the ball, right? The second thing is that Tucker Kraft is coming open on that play, and the defensive back's back is turned to Jordan Love. So as Aaron Rodgers would always put, hey, if the defensive back's back is to me, the receiver's open. I see exactly what he was seeing. And I like the decision to give Tucker Kraft a opportunity there. I think at worst that play ends up being batted down, or, it's a 50-50 and Kraft probably wrestles it away, or again, it falls incomplete. But the other thing that I'm willing to give Jordan a little bit more accident forgiveness on is he gets drilled on the play. I think if he doesn't get drilled on that, which again, he's not anticipating getting drilled when he's throwing that pass. He sees the defender coming, but he's still expecting to get that ball off clean. He gets drilled on that play and it causes it to wobble a little bit more. The wobble actually may have been beneficial because again, the DB's back was turned and Kraft had the ability to adjust and the DB did not. Kraft made the play and the rest was history. But if that were a non-hit on the play, I think Jordan gets it to him where it needs to be. And I think Kraft comes up with the catch. And in fact, I think in that situation, Kraft probably has less opportunity to run after the catch on the play, but I think it would have been completed. So I viewed that as a positive for Jordan. To me, the bigger issue on that play was Josh Jacobs. I think it was Jacobs missed a big blitz pickup on that one. And the player came through and drilled Jordan on it. So that to me was the negative on the play. I liked Jordan's read. I liked his decision. And then Kraft paid it off with a big play after that, which of course we'll talk about with Tucker Kraft here in just a moment. Play to Christian Watson. We talked about it with Justice Mosqueda earlier on today's show. Jordan's rolling right and he sees Christian going to the post. And Christian's got it won. There's no deep safety. The corner's beat, and he's going to throw it deep to Christian. My one question is, would he have had that half second to plant and really get enough behind it like he wanted it to, rather than throwing on the run and kind of across his body and letting that loft up there a little bit more? It's tough because he is getting chased. So I understand why he's wanting to throw on the run, and he just trusts his arm in that situation. The other thing, as Justice mentioned, is Matthew Golden is underneath it running a route and then brings it upfield. And because he brings it upfield at the last second, it actually brings that defender into the play where if Matthew Golden doesn't turn that play upfield, which is not part of the scripted play in that situation, Golden's just ad-libbing at that point, then that safety that looks like he might have a chance to make a play on the ball isn't even there. So he throws it down the field. He beats the corner because that ball hung up forever and it still got there and the corner couldn't make a play on it. So the corner was really of no issue. The safety, again, was only brought there by Matthew Golden. And even then, now the safety made a really terrible play, but I don't know if he gets there. That's still a very difficult play. And even if he does, to me, that's a tipped away pass and not an interception. Maybe we can agree to disagree on that, but I think even if the safety plays it perfect, he bats that away at the end. And the last thing I'll say is, even if you want to say that that's a turnover worthy play or whatever, which I would tend to disagree on, it's basically an awesome punt because it's going to probably be a 50-50. Watson's going to at minimum touch him on the way down and you're going to get pinned inside your own 20. Not again, validating the decision in that situation, but the very worst case scenario is basically an awesome punt in that scenario. So I liked giving Christian Watson, your big jump ball wide receiver, an opportunity. I thought the throw was good enough. He got it there. He beat the corner. The safety wasn't really expected to be there until Golden brought him there. And even then he beat the safety anyway and Watson made the play. So those are the two big ones. And then of course, when you string together 20 consecutive completions, you're going to have a lot of positives on the day as well. So awesome day for Jordan. I viewed it a little bit better, I think, than PFF did. I probably would have had him in the 90s from a PFF style grade, but overall still great performance, however you want to view it. Tucker Kraft, we probably don't need to spend a ton of time on. Plus 2.20 grade. You saw all the plays. You can just search Tucker Kraft highlights Steelers and you're going to see everything you need to see. There's not much that I can add to the conversation than what you guys have already seen with your own eyes. And it's the run after the catch ability that was so special in this game. The one thing I will add is I thought his blocking was really good in this game, both in run blocking. I don't know if he was asked to pass protect too much, maybe a couple of the chips and things like that, but I don't think there was many one-on-ones in that situation. But I thought his blocking was some of the best that we saw as well, which again allows you to have that monster grade because again, plus 2.20 for Tucker Kraft. If Kraft, has a great receiving day, but he biffs a bunch of blocks, it's just going to bring you back down to probably still a good grade, but not an epic or great grade. And because he was a really good blocker in this game as well, it allowed him to have that overall epic performance. PFF's top graded player overall this week. And again, I had Jordan a little bit ahead of him, but I have no issue with that determination. And if you want to have Tucker Kraft as your highest graded player in this game, I will be the very last person to argue with you. He easily could have been in that conversation as well. So Jordan Love, number 1, 2.45. Tucker Kraft, number 2, 2.20. Number 3 is just the coolest story. Christian Watson, plus 0.65. If you would have told me coming into this game that Christian Watson would have been a plus 0.65 and like the third highest graded receiver, I would have said, you know what? He probably caught one deep ball for like 60 yards and a touchdown. And that was probably the gist of his day. And it wasn't. He played 35 snaps, caught 4 passes for, I think it was 85 yards. The deep ball we talked about, the play before halftime on the out route was a fantastic play by Christian as well. But then his blocking also on the Jacobs touchdown, on the Kraft touchdown, he was out there blocking with some big time effort on those plays, which helped those two get into the end zone. Just the constant impact performer that we saw from Christian. Couple routes where I thought he got covered up a little bit, maybe could have done a little bit better. But overall, first game back, torn ACL, torn MCL, playing 35 snaps. You could not have asked for anything more from Christian Watson in that game. Love the performance and certainly worthy of the 3rd highest overall grade. And some weeks maybe would have been, one of the, even better performers, but with the way Kraft and Love played in this one, tough to get past those two, but Christian Watson certainly again deserving of that number 3 spot. Hey friends, it's time to get our sleeper picks in for Packers Panthers this coming Sunday, noon in Lambeau Field. I'm excited for this game, and I'm going rookie heavy for my picks in this game. First of all, Matthew Golden. He's a little bit frustrated, hasn't been utilized more. 35.5 receiving yards. I'm going more than 35.5 receiving yards for Matthew Golden in this game. I think Matt LaFleur and this Packers offense will be a little bit more intentional in getting Matthew Golden the ball. I expect him to bounce back and have a big performance against Carolina. So Matthew Golden, more than 35.5 receiving yards. On the flip side, for Carolina, Tet McMillan, more than 51.5 receiving yards. So maybe a slightly high number here, but I expect Carolina is going to have to throw the ball to try to get back in this game at different points in this game. And I'm expecting that, once again, a big, tall, physical receiver on the outside is going to give Green Bay some troubles. And I'm expecting Carolina is going to try Tet McMillan early and often in this game. So Tet, more than 51.5 receiving yards. And then Ryan Fitzgerald, their rookie kicker, more than 1.5 field goals made. Whether he makes it or not might be a little bit more interesting, but I expect this is going to be another bend but don't break performance from Green Bay's defense, which is going to allow Fitzgerald to have multiple field goal attempts. And I expect that he's going to make at least 2 of those. So Matthew Golden, more than 35.5 receiving yards, Tet McMillan, more than 51.5 receiving yards, and Ryan Fitzgerald, more than 1.5 field goals made. The best part is that you can get a 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code Packaday over on Sleeper. Again, a 100% match by utilizing code Packaday over on Sleeper. Terms and conditions apply. Check those out over on Sleeper. And of course, they are available in over 25 states. So if you haven't checked it out yet, what are you waiting for? Get after it and get your Green Bay Carolina picks in for this week. Bottom 3 on offense. I had Rasheed Walker as my lowest graded player. I know PFF disagrees with that a little bit. That's okay. I thought his run blocking was really poor, and I thought Highsmith got him back, sort of bull rushed into the quarterback a couple different times. I thought he struggled both in pass pro and run blocking. Just need to see a little bit more consistency from Rasheed Walker. It's disappointing. He's in a contract year. I was really expecting big things from him, especially once he kind of won that left tackle job outright again. He's trying to get that long-term contract or be a super valued free agent coming up. We saw, again, some not so great offensive tackles get 20 million per year in the open market last year. And he's got every right to go and do that. I just need to see him be a little bit more consistent moving forward. He's got the ability. I've seen it in years past. He can go on these runs where he looks awesome as a left tackle. I think he's got every right to be a really good left tackle in this league. I think he's just fallen a little bit short so far this year. The second one, I think, is going to be maybe a little bit more disputed. And again, PFF disagrees with me on this one as well. Zach Tom was my second lowest graded player. Now, it's a negative 0.2. It's basically a neutral level grade. It's not anything too terrible. The interesting thing is PFF and I both agreed that he was a little bit negative in pass protection. What we disagree on is they really liked him in run block. They give him an elite grade in run blocking this week. I did not. I thought he was a little bit, either average or below average in run blocking. I didn't think it was a terrible performance overall, but I didn't think he, did anything outstanding to merit like an exceptional run blocking grade. So I put him more as like a neutral run block and a slight negative in pass protection. Now, again, this is why we love going over the grades. Do we need to be cognizant of the fact that TJ Watt is across from him? Yes. Do I take that into effect when I'm grading? No. And you might say, well, why? It's TJ Watt. Why would you not? Imagine every week I have to have a Rolodex of who the best to worst defensive ends are, and then try to adjust the grade based on how good the defensive end, or for any position, right? I'd have to know exactly the level of performer for every player they go against, that every player goes against all season long. It just doesn't make sense. So this is where we have to have the common sense conversation of a negative 0.2 grade going up against TJ Watt. all day through the entirety of the game, not too bad of a performance. And TJ Watt will tell you he didn't have a picnic going against Zach Tom either, and didn't get to the, a sack a single time in this game, which is, again, an honor in and of itself for Zach Tom in this one. So did it grade as a slight negative for me? Yes. Am I still very appreciative of what Zach Tom did in this game and being able to go against one of the best premier defensive ends in football and hold him without a sack or really any impact play whatsoever? Absolutely. Do I think Matt LaFleur and his offense in the quick passing game helped in that in some way? And some of the chips that Zach Tom got also? Yes. But overall, again, a more than fine performance from Zach Tom, knowing the competition he went up against, but it did end up with that negative 0.2 grade on the day. Number 3, Luke Musgrave, negative 0.15, had the one catch for 5 yards, really struggled as a blocker. I think PFF even liked him a little bit less than I did in this game. And then, again, didn't add anything as a receiver other than that one catch for 5 yards. It's just kind of the consistent Luke Musgrave performance that we've seen over and over and over again. And again, we're just kind of hoping for something a little bit better. And unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out that way. Other noteworthy players on offense, Josh Jacobs plus 0.05. I thought this was his worst day. He couldn't get much going in the run game simply because of the run blocking. That's not negative grades on Jacobs' side of things. That's, again, on the offensive line, but he really struggled in pass pro. There was also one play he caught a pass in the flat in the open field, had one guy to beat, and the guy immediately got him down, which is very, very rare for Josh Jacobs. So there was just, I think, a little bit more out there, but pass protection was the big one, and is why he didn't grade a little bit better in the positive. And again, just didn't have much opportunity in the run game. Did have the nice touchdown play where he burst to the outside and scored there, which was a positive. Had a couple other positive plays in this game, but with the pass pro being a little bit leaky, that's why it ended up more towards that neutral level grade. Emmanuel Wilson plus 0.35. PFF did not like Emmanuel Wilson at all in this game. He did have a fumble, and you might say, yeah, it went out of bounds, and he was pretty close to, he's about a yard in bounds still, and he fumbles. And it's likely to go out in that situation, but it doesn't have to. We've seen plays like that before where it's, it bounces right along the sideline and bounces back in bounds. So it's still a fumble. It's still a turnover worthy play. That was for me a big negative. I'm assuming for PFF, it was a big negative as well. But outside of that, I thought he played really well. He had that one catch as a check down, and then immediately the one that Love threw sidearmed that he broke like 2 tackles right away. Showed great burst on a couple different runs. I thought ran behind his pads. I thought everything was good in this game, pretty much besides that fumble. I think there was one play in pass pro where he was leaky as well, which was a negative, but still a positive performance for me on the day from Emmanuel Wilson. John Fitzpatrick plus 0.4, really liked some of the stuff he did late in this game in pass pro and in run blocking. I thought his blocking looked really improved in this game and was a real positive sign for this tight end group. And again, not a surprise that Fitzpatrick is starting to get more snaps than Luke Musgrave based on that blocking ability. Jordan Morgan was one of PFF's highest graded players for Green Bay in this game. I liked him. I had a plus 0.15, probably just a little bit below what PFF would have graded him as, but I thought this was one of the better performances of Jordan Morgan's really career so far. But it's funny because last week Jordan Morgan got the whole game, and I thought he really struggled and had one of the lowest grades from both me and PFF. This week, I thought Jordan Morgan was one of their better offensive linemen, and Sean Ryan outsnaps him. It's like, we just got to figure out the right balance here, because last week Sean Ryan probably should have seen more playing time because, Morgan was not playing well at all. This week, Morgan was playing pretty well. Granted, Ryan had, I think, a slight positive as well, but I thought Morgan was playing just a little bit better and probably could have saw a little bit more playing time in this game, but hopefully they can kind of figure out that rotation a little bit better moving forward. And then last but not least, Aaron Banks plus 0.35. Liked what I saw from Aaron Banks again this week. I know there seems to be this tendency where we want to group together Nate Hobbs and Aaron Banks. I would not. And now, is, again, Banks living up to the contract? No, probably not. But this is 3 consecutive weeks he's played pretty good football. Matt LaFleur echoed that in his press conference today as well. So, I think he's getting healthier. I think he's getting better. He did, if you notice, as we talked about Justice, show up on the injury report with a shin issue. And I saw the play. I found it late in the game where he kind of got rolled up on right on the shin, got almost like kicked in the shin, got a little bit of whiplash there, went down. He played the next play. I don't foresee it being a big time issue for him, but just kind of another one of those ailments that he's had to battle through so far. But I thought this was his best game yet. And again, he seems to be trending in the right direction. And again, I would not put him in that same category as Nate Hobbs so far. Top 3 players on defense. Edgerrin Cooper plus 0.8, Forced fumble was the big one, but he was all over the place, had that immediate pressure on the one where Keyshawn Nixon got called for the pass interference penalty. I thought he was sideline to sideline as a run defender, shot through gaps when he needed to, had good coverage throughout the day. Just a really sound and overall really nice performance from Edgerrin Cooper, highlighted by the forced fumble. Rashawn Gary, what was it? 2 sacks on the day, plus 0.75 grade for me. I thought he was all over the place. I thought he did a really nice job setting the edge in the run game. He was one of the few that did in this game. I thought as a run defender, he was everything you would have asked for. Again, had those 2 sacks, bull rushed the offensive tackle on a couple different occasions, was probably a little bit unlucky almost to not do better on those plays where, again, Rodgers getting the ball out of his hands really, really quick, but really nice overall day from Rashawn Gary. And then Javon Bullard, plus 0.6. I continue to love the way that he is playing football. A couple plays where he just shoots down on those wide receiver screens, which he has attacked physically all season long. They played him at safety. He did a great job in this game, coming out from the 2-high shell and screaming down into the box and filling gaps. Overall, he rallied to the football on numerous occasions, just high effort, high intensity, big time energy, and racing all over the field to make plays. I loved what I saw once again from Javon Bullard in this game. Bottom 3 players on defense. Number 1 is going to be a surprise to nobody. Keyshawn Nixon, negative 1.0. There were a couple of positive plays in this game. He did have a big pass breakup on a key 3rd down. That was the play where Devontae Wyatt jumped off sides and they didn't call him for it. So that was a nice play by Keyshawn because the play ended up counting. I think everyone was expecting it to kind of come back, but the play counted and Keyshawn had a big pass breakup there. There were a couple other plays in run defense. He did have the big tackle on DK Metcalf right along the sideline to keep him out of the end zone. So there were some positives in this game. I thought the second half was better from Keyshawn, but I don't even know if I need to label all the plays. The play he gets lost early in the game, the touchdown to DK Metcalf in the red zone, which is not an easy play, but he still allows it. Holding penalty, pass interference penalty, just a very rough day. And the play along the edge where he kind of gets lost with the wide receiver, it was all there for Keyshawn. A pretty nightmare performance from him, and one he's going to have to find a way to bounce back from. Second lowest was Devontae Wyatt, negative 0.25. Could just tell he wasn't quite 100% and was working his way back from injury. Didn't have quite the same impact as a pass rusher. And I thought a couple times he got moved out of his gap as a run defender. So there was a couple of really nice plays too, especially one in run defense where held up against a double team, and then another one where he got off a block really quick. Just plays like that you love to see from him, especially in run defense, which was a weakness of his earlier in his career. But overall, not terrible. First game back from injury, but a little bit on the lower side for Wyatt this week. And then the other one was Colby Wooden, negative 0.15. Same kind of thing. I didn't think he did a great job getting off of blocks. I thought some of those interior offensive linemen for Pittsburgh were able to kind of move him a little bit more than what we've seen in recent weeks. And he didn't have some of those big splash plays in the backfield either, which we've come a little bit more accustomed to as of late from Colby Wooden. So again, nothing egregious here, but negative 0.15 grade for Colby Wooden. Some noteworthy players on defense. Micah Parsons, still a plus 0.35 grade, probably one of his quieter performances. Two plays at least on the edge where I thought he struggled to kind of get off blocks and set the edge appropriately, which was the negatives. He, I think, kind of did cause the Devontae Wyatt jump off sides as well. He kind of comes up and he's probably a little bit off sides as well, but he almost hits into Wyatt. And then I think Wyatt just not expecting that. And then he jumps off sides. So he's involved in that play. A couple plays. There's one late in the game where I don't want to say he gave up on the play, but I think he was expecting Rodgers to get rid of the ball already. And then he kind of recognizes Rodgers still has the ball and kind of goes after it a little bit later on that one. I thought he maybe could have just kept the effort up a little bit more on that play. But still, he breaks the triple team for a sack on the day and had multiple pressures. He had the one that he chased down Rodgers from behind and was about this close to getting a forced fumble by swiping it. And Rodgers, again, just barely got rid of it just in time on that play. Had another pressure that kind of resulted in a Rashawn Gary sack. So PFF had a slight negative grade. I can't get to that on this day from Micah Parsons. He was still a positive performer for me, still a plus 0.35, still one of the higher graded defenders in the game, but just again, maybe a little bit less than what we've seen from Micah Parsons. And especially going back to last week where he's a plus 3 something, but still a net positive for Micah in this game. Quay Walker, plus 0.3. This is another one where PFF and I disagreed on a little bit. They had a lower grade. I thought, first of all, his ability not to retaliate on that play, to me, yes, that's a positive grade. The other guy is getting in your face, poking your eye, grabbing your face mask, and you don't retaliate, get a 15-yard penalty by the offense on that play. the Packers said that they graded that as a positive, as a turnover worthy play for Quay Walker in this game. I don't know if I would go quite as high as that, but it was a play that goes from a 3rd and 2 to a 3rd and 17. And then the rest of the day, I thought he was pretty up and down. I had a slight positive outside of that, non-retaliation play. But I thought overall showed great character. Didn't retaliate. Didn't get kicked out of the game. Didn't cause a offsetting penalty. And outside of that, again, some good, some bad, but overall a fine day from Quay, even outside of that one play. Isaiah McDuffie had his worst game of the season. I've been really loving what I've been seeing from him so far, but this one was a little bit tougher. Missed the tackle in the open field, missed setting the edge a couple times. Started positive. He had like a +0.2 grade early in the game, and then just kind of continued to get worse as the day went on. So a little bit of a tough game from McDuffie overall. Carrington Valentine, of course, replacing Nate Hobbs, +0.25. Yes, he gave up a couple plays, but he made so many plays in this game as well. Had that huge hit on Pat Freiermuth, which was awesome. And I thought covered well throughout the course of the day. Had that huge pass breakup on DK Metcalf in the end zone. So positive day for Carrington Valentine. And maybe surprising, Nate Hobbs, only 3 plays in this game. I think it was 3 or 4. +0.15. He had 2 really good plays in coverage where he had basically lockdown coverage on his receiver on 2 consecutive plays. So some positive signs, maybe. I know it's an extremely small sample size, but maybe a small sign of positivity for Nate Hobbs, albeit in, again, very, very, very minimal snaps. And then Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney, +0.3 grade for both of them. Liked how both players played. The safety room, Bullard, Williams, and X are playing really, really well. Do I think X could still make a bigger impact? I do. I want to see him start coming up with some of those big plays and just figuring out how to get him in those situations. But he still had a good game. He came up with multiple tackles after the run game broke down. That's one of the things we haven't seen from these safeties because the running game for opposing teams hasn't gotten past the defensive line and linebackers very much through the first, 6 games of the season, 5 games of the season. So this was one where we finally saw some of the safeties have to make plays and they were up to the task. Evan Williams had a sweet play where he comes up to make a play, runs right through Kelvin Austin, and then goes and makes a play on Jalen Warren in the open field. Had that big tip away as well. On the, what again, I think was that a free play? Or no, I think there was a penalty on, it was the hold on Keyshawn on the play, but Evan Williams bats away the play at the last second, what could have probably been a touchdown if Williams doesn't make the play on that as well. So safeties continue to play very, very well. Just to recap it, top 3 on offense: Jordan Love, Tucker Kraft, and Christian Watson. Bottom 3, Rasheed Walker, Zach Tom, and Luke Musgrave. Top 3 on defense: Edge Cooper, Rashawn Gary, and Javon Bullard. Bottom 3, Keyshawn Nixon, Devontae Wyatt, and Colby Wooden. Full grades will be up later today over on PackerReport.com. Make sure to check that out. And appreciate you guys being here. We'll be back tomorrow morning with Carmen Vitale. Make sure to check out the episode from earlier today with Justice Mosqueda. And we've got some bonus episode content coming out for members with Ross Uglum. And we already have one with Aaron Nagler out there for you as well. So make sure to check out those Pack a Day Podcast YouTube memberships. Speaking of which, shout out to our All Pro and Hall of Fame members: PJ Wynn, John Wild, Brandon Paletta, Boom Handle, Donald Lee, Lori Lord, Baby QB, David McCluskey, Donald Decker, Alex Wong, Peter Ritaka, Jay Zimmerman, B Brown, Puerto Rican Packer, Dan Gassford, SoCal Pack, Chris Rager, Izzy Roberts, Ian Ewing, Carlo Delgado, Willie Winkle-Sinkle, Jen Wright, The Gable Storm, Pack Attack Cast, Chris Weish, Craig, John Dimitropoulos, Hayden Radomski, Devin Lane, Ganzusa, Alexander Newell, Dan Miller, Bill Reinhart, Richard Morales, and Les Nino. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.